Hello, everyone. Hi, everyone. This is Shannon Port, and I welcome you to the Holy Womanhood podcast, number 4. And we are also here. This is also the Goddess Report. And so I just want to be really clear at the beginning that we'll be speaking to men and women today. As always, we just happen to have a very special mission and emphasis on the feminine mysteries as they apply to holy womanhood. So I'm just going to make sure that everything is set up okay. I haven't been live since before Venus retrograde. It's been 2 months. It's so good to be back. And I'm just going to take a peek, make sure everything is working. Last time we had 2 streams running at once. So I'm just going to make sure. It looks like we have the microphone on. And hello. Hi. It's so good to see you. Always. Okay, so you can hear me. I'm hoping there's not any feedback, and it looks like we have the right camera. So I can't tell you how good it is to be here for Beltane, and it's May 3rd that we're going live. Beltane was on May 1st on Thursday, and I just want to tell you a little bit about our connection with Beltane here at Art of the Feminine. All right, I'm hoping some people find me live. This is Shannon Port, and I am the founder of Art of the Feminine and Light Body Yoga. I also am the head of the Divine Feminine Wisdom School, which is a 2-year professional immersion into the depth of the feminine mysteries. And this is a body of work that we call the Divine Feminine Esoteric System, the secret feminine doctrine for the coming age of Venus. This is a work that has come through the Venusian initiates to really fully anchor on this planet the profound wisdom of the collective feminine, as well as the profound wisdom for the body of Eve as she manifests through the collective Eve as the primordial woman. So this work has been, it's so good to see you. Oh my gosh. Some of my favorite people. It's that I haven't seen in a while. So it's so okay. So all right. So I want to talk about Beltane and our connection with Beltane. So many of you back in 2015 participated in the very first, it was the first time I had been working with private groups and an inner circle for many, many years, since the early 2000s where it was official. But it was the very first time that I was able to open up the teachings to the public and to people who I had come into contact with through the Art of the Feminine podcast, which started in 2012. Just one moment. So in 2015, we opened the Inner Mystery School of Divine Love. And it was a really, really sacred container that held specifically was to focus on the Beltane mysteries, the mysteries of sacred union, and the mysteries of the dragon current. We worked with what we called the Christos Sophia code, and we did a deep, deep transmission of how the power of the divine feminine works through love relationships and sacred union. And it was shown that we were meant to do it May 1st. It fell on a Friday. And May is the month of illumination in mystical teachings. Many, many profound things happen. Beltane, so we're talking about we're in northern Beltane right now, is the peak of the Kundalini Shakti on the planet, which is the interplay between the sun and the earth. And so that interplay represents divine sexuality. It's really the cosmic dance and the cosmic fertility. And May is the month. May is the 5th month. The number 5 corresponds to the pentagram. And the pentagram represents the Christic force. It is the high quintessence light. It is the purified and refined light that comes all the way from the core of creation, the divine mother's womb, as she gives birth to the Christ, and it penetrates through the layers and the dimensions and works through our sun and through our solar system as well as the galactic core, and comes into this planet to reach the earth and to reach the human race. And so it's a really, really sacred time to understand that at this time we have access to a level of fire, of holy fire, that when we understand how to use it and how to run it through our human vehicle and our human vessel, we can become profound alchemists, profound visionaries, profound priests and priestesses of nature. And so let me just take a moment. um, all right, if there's anything else I want to say about the Inner Mystery School now is held within the Divine Feminine Wisdom School, and I'll be talking about that in a moment. I have another announcement to make, but I want to just take a moment and honor the Inner Mystery School of Divine Love and Beltane by just taking Christ Sophia in the 7 directions. So I'm going to ask you to, if you're watching live with us, just bring your hands to your heart into prayer. And just like we do I am in the 7 directions, we'll do Christ Sophia, representing the merging of the logos power and matter, of spirit and matter, of the soul and spirit, the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And we'll do it in the 7 directions. And just imagine that as we go in these 7 directions, that light which is in the core of your own heart, in the inner sanctum, which is what makes you totally and completely divine as you are right now. Taurus represents values and it represents worth. We can apply that to our own worth as we are rays of the sun, rays of the Godhead manifesting on this planet as an individual and particular spark of that holy divinity. I want to say this really deeply right now. It is that spark within your beating heart, beat with the mother's Kundalini Shakti fire, that makes you divine and human at the same time. And if your heart is beating, if you're able to take your next breath, you are alive and carrying that spark into the world. Your value and your worth is non-negotiable. It is as God has created you. And so a lot of times we hear about worth, and especially there's a lot of talk about women's worth, woman's worth. And when you understand your worth, you start to magnetize the currents from Eve's holy tree of life. It is the understanding of your own worth that links you to the Christic force. But oftentimes you don't hear what really is that worth. How do we connect to it? Our worth is made up of many different things. It's made up of who we are, of what we bring to the world, our gifts. But the truth is that when we need to connect to our worth, the only thing we have to do is understand that the Godhead lives and dwells within our heart, and that you have a mission, you have a divine blueprint. You are here to carry out your holy function. It is written and inscribed on your heart. The wisdom of this coming age is the application of that mission. It's the application of your specific blueprint. And so What makes this work, the divine feminine, different than, let's say, a patriarchal religion? And the patriarchal religions carry profound wisdom. Many of them are aligned exactly with these holy and high holidays that are connected to the earth and to divine paganism and the understanding of the cycles. But what makes this wisdom very profound is that we have the tools, we have the archetypes, we have the correspondences to read the book of nature. We work here with the laws of nature. Goddess KABBALAH, which I'll talk about in just a moment, is a complete translation of the Western esoteric system into the divine feminine mysteries for this coming era, meaning it's an understanding that as the mysteries have been received, they've gone through various cycles and evolutions to accommodate the growth of the soul in human form. And at each level, we are ready and preparing for another level of that understanding. On the tree of life, understanding is Binah. It's the divine mother. And it's understanding that gives us the power to read the book of nature. This manifests through the arts, through the sciences, through technology, through all things that are held in our academics, our academia, and our educational system for sure. But there is another stream, the divine feminine stream, that opens up through the heart. And this particular stream demands of us that we understand through the power of our intuition. That means that we can't just use our brain. We can't just use temporal knowledge, which can give us many things. Temporal knowledge can create, a parallel universe. It's that powerful. But without the intuitive, that links the divine holy fire that exists in the underworld, in the lower world, with the celestial gravitational field until we have that intuitive capacity in our own heart, which is the feminine, the ability to go inward and to receive and to combine knowledge, earthbound knowledge and technology with the higher cosmic impulses that come from the goddess, that come from Sophia and the Sophianic wisdom. In this age of wisdom, we're unpacking and we're discovering the wisdom that is written in everything, but we have to have our heart. This is what Taurus is. So Taurus is the earth. It's the empress in the tarot. Taurus is ruled by Venus, which shows you right there. You have a correspondence with the heart and a correspondence with fertility and with generating, with giving birth, with manifesting, but not just any manifesting, it's manifesting in the world of form. We create through Taurus our vehicle. We create our vessel, our chalice, our container. We're going to talk about the container today because we are becoming container goddesses, chalices to hold the cosmic light and the cosmic forces, which is where all of the light body yoga teachings have come from, and light body woman, the whole light body series. It's massive, it's vast, and it's all held within the school. It's been being developed meticulously since 2003. It carries the rituals and the practices and the codes that help us to cultivate the proper vision so that we can read nature properly. And that requires the heart. So the earth and heart are an anagram. They are made with the very same letters, and they hold the same vibration. And we often say the word breath, you add the B, but all the rest of the letters are the same as earth and heart. And so there's a correspondence between how we breathe, how we work with the Ruach, the air principle, the Christic principle of the Holy Spirit. How we breathe helps us to interface our own vessel, our own vehicle with the light in nature, the holy fire. We're going to be talking about Vulcan and Vesta, which are two divine archetypes, Roman god Vulcan and Roman goddess Vesta, who help us to forge our vehicle through the holy fire. Um, Taurus is opposite Scorpio. And if you follow my work, you know we work profoundly in the eighth house mysteries. The eighth house mysteries are what this platform is all about. And so that's why in my own path of initiation in this lifetime, I've been deeply connected to work in love relationships where the temperature is cranked to the highest degree, where the stakes are high, where the feminine spiritual heart is on the altar, and where that exchange is taking place between the masculine and feminine. And so in my lifetime, coming in with the encodements that I hold, the partners that I've attracted to do this work with me have also come from previous cycles and lineages where they're holding the codes that were necessary for me in the creating of this work to have that experience and to go through those initiations at a really high level. That is the profundity of love. Love isn't just now in Taurus, it is pleasure and it's sensuality, but love, even in our dreams when we meet with people, there is a forging of the soul because that we are representing the archetype of the divine mother and the divine father merging to create the holy Christic child. And so let's do Christ, Sophia, in the seven directions, and then I'll talk about some other things. Let me see if there's anything else I want to say about Taurus. It's just so sacred this time of year. It's just such a beautiful time when the light is coming in, and I know we're opposite of you down in the southern hemisphere, and I was just telling one of my dear friends that shows up here a lot that when we work together, the northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere, we are balancing the planet. And so when we come together at these times, I'm in the north and I follow the path of the sun in the north because it's leading the planet. And so but we're always working as a collective and as a whole. So we're going to do Christ, Sophia, in the seven directions. And then I'll talk a little bit about Goddess KABBALAH. And then we'll get into talking about Vesta and Vulcan and the three levels of human sexuality. And then today I'm going to share about the Temple of Isis. The Temple of Isis is the fountain of all of the work here. And I'm going to share with you, I found a letter from that I had printed out in 2009 when I wrote a really deep letter to the Cosmic Mother and to Isis. And it was after I had been in a session in the Akashic Record where I was for the first time in this lifetime taken into the etheric plane and able to go in to that temple and make a real and genuine contact. And so I'm going to talk, and that was the start of the next level. That was the start of Goddess KABBALAH because it was at that time, it was in 2009, between 2008 when I had the 888, the Lionsgate initiation, then to February 2009 is where I had the first experience of what's opening to receive what's called the inner Kabbalah. And that means you're opening an inner fount where there's master beings that come in and begin to work directly with the soul. And that's where Goddess KABBALAH has come from. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And then I'm going to maybe, if we have time, share the initiate that I'm connected to. There's a few of them, but as I had a few requests if I would share who it is, and I will talk about that at the end, who one of the members of my soul group is that's on the planet that was part of a very big movement in esoteric work on this planet. And so I'll talk about that at the end. And so I'm just going to have you Everyone, bring your hands to your heart in prayer. We do this emanation in the 7 directions, and we're really creating the chalice in our vision when we do it. And so we're working with the sun. We're working with both the 6-pointed star as well as the pentagram. And I said the pentagram, which is really the Christ Sophia, is the quintessence. It is the harmonizing of the divine elements, and it is aligning them with the cosmic core, or the core of all creation, so that our light is in communication with the divine. We work with the physical plane, the spiritual plane, and the divine plane. And so on the physical plane, we're doing this work so that we can receive the inner word, which is the Arafant, which is the archetype in the major arcana for Taurus. It's number 5. It's the pentagram, and it represents the inner logos, who is our divine teacher. In the Eastern teachings, you might hear the Sadguru, the teacher within, but it's the fountain of the divine word, which I talk a lot about. And I've in these 2 months I've been away, I've done a lot of writing on social media, Art of the Feminine on Facebook, Art of the Feminine on Instagram. Make sure to follow, because I've been writing a lot about these teachings. And so there's a lot of just small digestible um writings that talk about how we are aligning the fire and matter. And we do that when we become mature beings who understand how to work with our sexuality and how to run it through our system, so we're not just ruled by lust. We're not just like wishy-washy, and Taurus rules pleasure. And so when we're on the lower side of, and she's very connected to Lilith. My son is on the star Algol in Taurus. It's also connected to the Pleiades and to, I mean, just deep, deep um connections with the feminine. So um pleasure is, and sensuality is part of our human experience. We're meant to indulge in it. That's what Beltane's all about, dancing around the maypole. The maypole really represents the spinal column. So it's in mystical teachings, the maypole is the spine, and it represents the two Ida and Pingala, representing the tree of life, really, how they intertwine up the pole. So it's really an archetype of 3, and the Empress is 3, or the triangle, because the number 3 is the number of fertility. It's the number of the Empress, and it's when the 2 come together, the masculine and feminine, in sacred union, that center pole, that center Christic force opens up. And so it's the joining of the 2 polarities with the Godhead. And that is, we see that in this ritual of dancing around the maypole at Beltane. It's really, really sacred. So I just want to say before we do it, we all carry this energy within us. We are all privileged human beings. It doesn't matter what religion, what race, what color, even sexual orientation. If you are here, you are privileged to carry the God force into the world. And as we develop and we get more mature, we start looking for the truth. So we have our lifetimes of play, we have our lifetimes of living on the lower carnal side, where it's just about power and dominance, or eating each other through pleasure. But as we begin to ripen and mature, our rosebud begins to open with the sun. We begin to seek the knowledge. We begin to want to understand what's really written on our heart. Because when we came in, it was written in our DNA, and it was written in our heart, who we truly are. And so we'll say Christ Sophia in the 7 directions now. And so just seeing yourself as this sacred, holy human with your profound gifts. We start with gratitude. We start with kindness. We start with generosity. And those things lead to our true power. We start by being kind, like the Buddha has taught us. We start by forgiving, like the Christ has taught us. We start by being playful and enjoying and being thankful for our own life, like all the goddesses have taught us. And then the world begins to open up to us, that we may discover that we are the Christic force. We are Christ Sophia. And so repeating after me, Christ Sophia before me. Christ Sophia behind me. Christ Sophia at my left. Christ Sophia at my right. Christ Sophia above me. Christ Sophia below me. Christ Sophia unto me. And just take a deep breath in. And as you breathe all the way in, just take a moment and hold your breath. And as you're suspending your breath, just give thanks for all the blessings of Mother Earth in this Taurus season. Give thanks for all the relationships that have come into your life and taught you. Some of us end up with a holy one that goes a lifetime, and some of us have many experiences where we gain the fruits of those experiences to keep going and to keep building upon that wisdom. And so blessing all those who have been our sacred partners in this lifetime, in past lifetimes, in future lifetimes. Exhaling all your breath out. Giving thanks for the Ruach Elohim, the Holy Spirit, and the light of the sun. We say, I am, I am, I know I am. I am, I am, I know I am. I am, I am, I know I am. All right. Okay, so I think I have this. I hope I have this mic set up in an okay place. I'm going to say a couple words about Goddess KABBALAH. I'm going to just take a peek down, make sure everything is going okay. I would love it if you're here, if you give the video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe. We are back regularly now. I'm going to talk about Venus retrograde because Venus retrograde hit my North Node in Pisces 3 times. If I could really break down what I experienced in the past 2 months, it's in the 8th house, by the way. I have the Pisces North Node in the 8th house, which is the 8th house mysteries. Every reckoning, every reconciliation, every karmic contract that I have had in this lifetime, and probably even before, because a couple have followed me through, was delivered to me on a platter. No effort on my own. They all, because Venus retrograde will bring back people from your past, but it will also bring back because I had mine in the 8th house. It's karmic contracts. It has to do with merging and what that creates and the reconciling of it and the regeneration of it. So that delivered. And when Venus also, I just want to say, if any of you have been experiencing some crazy stuff over the past couple months, Venus was conjunct Saturn this whole time. That is no small thing, because it's not that often that you get Venus and Saturn locked in like that in Pisces, in the sign of Lilith, in the dark waters. And Pisces is the inversion of the sexual force on the planet. It's also the great power and womb of the divine mother. But I'm telling you, they were in it, and they were pulling up the dark and saying it's time to process this. It's time for humanity to prepare for the next level before this Beltane. We're in a new cycle. I want to say one thing. You might know this year is so different. The energy is completely different than anything else. We started out with that hard, grindy Mars energy. We're in kind of a and then we had the retrograde energy. We're in sort of a reboot right now, and then more is coming. It's gonna change again, but this is a different we're humanity's in a different place. Technology is on the table. With Pluto in Aquarius, we're gonna be just seeing so much, and Uranus in Taurus at those last degrees. That Uranus rules Aquarius. It rules technology, and it's also just, I mean, revolutions, and it's like uprisings and just complete. It's also the divine light, but it can access the darkest of the dark in the underworld. It's in the sign of the mother right now, so that's all on too. Okay, I'll just peek in and say hello. So nice to see you. Ema and Kath and Trisha and Susan and Kath and Veros and Vess. Oh, so nice to see you. And Shannon, nice to see you. Okay, and make sure to say hi if you're here. I'd love to hear where you're tuning in from, and then come back and comment. And if you have any Venus retrograde stories, feel free to let me know. And yeah, we're going to be back regularly now with Holy Womanhood podcast. Okay, so I want to say this about Goddess Kabbalah. I have the link. I don't have it on yet, but I'm going to talk 1 minute about it, and then we're going to go into the VESTA and VULCAN and the 3 levels of human sexuality. So, I'm just checking how the camera is today. It is okay. We did Holy Descent in the fall. It was an 8-week course, and it was built up around Samhain to the winter solstice. And so which is where we were in the north. But I just want to tell you that I'm making that course available now, and it's profound. There are 67 videos in it. We did 67 videos in 8 weeks. If you're new to esoteric work and you have no idea what I'm talking about when I talk about the mysteries, or the Western esoteric system, or the divine feminine esoteric system, the secret feminine doctrine. This was the first time I was able to put it all together. And so it gives you the full blueprint. We break down everything from the 13 sphere tree of life to the cosmic zodiac to the lower zodiac. And we give the correspondences that have taken 20 years to bring in. For each dragon current that Eve carries, 13. This is the female tree. And this has been the mission of this work here. And it required it just required deep first of all, study and study and study. I just gave away 500 books when I moved across country, but before that I gave away about 1,000, meaning there was just so many years of deep, profound study so that I could line up with what I've been part of before. And then it wasn't until 2009 I understood what was really happening and why. That we have a saying, you have to know the rules in order to break them. In other words, you can't create a system or build upon a system until you are classically and traditionally trained, meaning for this particular work, because it is also scholarly, and it also requires that you can interface with the correspondences and understand what they're doing in order. When you're working with higher beings, they can use your vessel. Of course, we work through intuition, and I work through as an artist with just straight intuition all the time. But when you're working with, like, let's say, a language or a science, you have to be fluent in it. And so the first part for me was getting really fluent and developing my work as an artist, and then activating the gifts of Neptune, which I came in with a lot of Neptune, which is downloads. And then to be able to, starting in 2009, be able to build this out with not always knowing where it was going. Light body yoga came in 2003, and it's pretty wild how it came in, but it's a profound body of work. This is what Goddess Kabbalah is. And so it's for the first time I was able to put it together. Let me see if there's anything else. Now it's a journey. So it's a journey to remind you who you are. It's not just teaching, because there's enough information. I call it level 1, but it could really keep you busy for your entire lifetime. Meaning it's level 1, but it's level 1 for me and for this work because I have so much. It goes deep. Um, but the main part about, and you'll see when you see the page, I'm going to bring the link back. I will have it here for sure later this evening here or tomorrow on May 4th. It's really beautiful too. I'm excited to share that link, but that will give you access if you're interested in doing the course. It's 8 weeks and it's 67 videos. But we had this collective journey of this profound group of individuals where we shared our stories and we took the journey into the underworld. We aligned it with Inanna at that time, and Sophia and Eve and all of the great goddesses, which all of these correspondences you will see, and they are amazing. They're so deep. And it was the first time I could really teach to those with everything together. But that is what Goddess KABBALAH is. I'll have a link here. It's a great place to start. It's held in the school, in the 2-year school, but it's a good place to start. Light body yoga is also a good place to start. But I just wanted to let you know that's available. Okay. All right. So I talked a little bit about Venus retrograde. So, and I think I covered enough of that already. And sometimes when you share personal stories, it helps people to plug it into your own personal story. So for me, Venus went over first, she went forward over my north node, retrograde over my north node, and then direct over my north node with Saturn. In fact, Saturn's on my north node right now. It's been intense. Um, so you look at the house, but she was doing this for the planet as well, because that Saturn-Venus conjunction was for the planet, and that means love is on the table. Our karmic past, we say Venus rules the heart and love. Saturn is the master who keeps score. So Venus is all about love and the heart and pleasure and sharing and romance and beauty and values. Saturn is the master energy who keeps score. That means who tallies our karmic use of that energy. Because we're in matter, everything is recorded. And so it is true that forgiveness can relieve us of our karmic debt and our bondage just enough so we get some power to like rise up and then start doing the real work. It's very rare. We sometimes we'll get a lifetime that we need where we can just forgive and find this and just have a bit of they take the pressure off, the foot off the gas a little bit so that we can rest up and get ready to face, because ultimately we face everything that we've created in this world. We're creators. And so over lifetimes, we've created all these different ties to different perceptions we had. And so ideally, we're coming into the cosmic perception of truth. And that requires facing some of our mistakes. So Venus and Saturn have to do with facing not just mistakes, but where we bound ourselves with another soul. What was taken from us? What did we allow to be taken when we entered that relationship? So I had to face this a lot, that I had to come in. I've talked about having Mars retrograde in my chart with my hands behind my back and being a generator and a giver, but without really, and I have Venus in Aries, so I'm meant to get that power of I am, which is also her detriment. She's fiery there because she can also carry the wound. And so she can misuse the power of Mars. But I've actually have Venus trying to my Mars in Sagittarius. So it's pretty good. But Mars is retrograde. So this is when we start to really look at how we've used love, how we've used the dragon current, which is our sexual force. Every interaction is recorded. And so that's why when we grow up and we become spiritually wise and mature, it's like if you had a lifetime where you ate a lot of really junk food, just nonstop, and you didn't think anything of it. It was no big deal. But all of a sudden you come into, you know, beautiful food, which is something I love as a Taurus, like really beautiful um, culinary arts and working with nature in all her colors and flavors. And every meal starts to become a work of art, even when it's simple, even if it's one vegetable. And I know a lot of you have that here, meaning you no longer would even have the desire to reach for what would feel shallow and hollow, empty calories, no substance or sustenance. The spiritual sustenance is in the food. The food, even the food we eat, ruled by Taurus and Vesta, the goddess of the hearth fire. There is food, and Vesta is also connected to Virgo, which is that fire in matter, and fire in the belly, the digestive system. So when we understand that God lives in our food, the Holy Spirit is in the solar force in our food, we reach for that because that we begin to have sacred union with, even when we eat. Eating is an act of union, and it's an act of we often say it's a sexual act. Speaking, eating, everything we do is the interchange of the holy forces. And so it's the same with the dragon current. Once we understand what it is, we just grow up and we understand. It's like money. Taurus is money, how you use your money. You might use your money in a mature way, or just a way that lacks wisdom. And there's times for that. There's definitely times to indulge. That's part of the wisdom, that they're understanding time. We say time is the woman. Time is the feminine. When we are wise, we understand time. And that's why we work with the lower zodiac. The zodiac, the seasons, and the cycles, and the path of the sun teach us how to work with time. The sunrise, the sunset, it teaches us how to understand the rhythms of the Christic force, the sun. Because when we understand that, we understand it's a universal blueprint that is in everything. And it's what makes nature holy. And when we start to tamper with nature and project onto it our own lower lust and our own lower, tendencies and misperceptions and misunderstandings, we're tempering with the Holy Spirit. Now, we have a certain amount of leeway to learn and grow, and we destroy ourselves. We've destroyed ourselves many times before. We could do it again. But we're in a period of evolution where we're meant to go to the next level. And that starts by understanding that everything is sacred. It doesn't mean that you're a Puritan. It doesn't mean that you condemn others for their sexuality or their sexual orientation or their religion. Never. Anyone who is doing that has not yet stepped foot onto the first stair to the temple doors, not even on the first step. We often give that, that metaphor of walking up the temple stairs. In order to take your foot and lift it up and set it upon the first stair, we have to look to the great teachers who have taught us how to live, the Christ, the Buddha, and many more. It doesn't mean that we lack power or wisdom or judgment or discernment. There's a time to say, for me, I'm not on that path right now, and it won't serve me. And I know better spiritually or energetically. And there is a time to speak that, but we have to have the wisdom and maturity to understand how we use our word and who we cast judgment upon. Because we make mistakes, the same mistakes over and over. We never evolve, meaning the masses in humanity just keep going around the wheel. And every time there is a harvest where new souls pop up and decide to go forward. And so let's see where I wanted to go with that. So I just wanted to be really clear with that. There's no judgment, but as you become a beacon of light and you start to shine that wisdom, There's a saying about love. Love is universal, real love. When you exchange love, you're the eternal exchanging with the eternal. So the eternal within me, when I'm in that state of divine love, is exchanging and having intercourse with the eternal in you. That means I've transcended my own illusions, the delusions of Pisces, where each one of us is living literally in our own hell of created false perceptions. That becomes the bondage we live in. I, for a moment, gone into the truth and let that ray of the light work through me. And we all get those hits and we know it. And we're like, that's it. Why don't I live that way? It's because we have work to do in the lower fields. We do. We sometimes we want to grab onto that eternal state of samadhi like permanently. And in the mysteries, we understand that sometimes we claim that prematurely and we haven't quite cleaned our own underworld. And so we might go into a false samadhi, which can be possible. And I had many years where my meditating was so deep, I felt like I could stay in it forever, but there was still work to be done. So I could have chosen to go to a temple or a monastery, which I've done in other lifetimes, and just sit there. It's wonderful. It's great. But we have, as divine feminine visionaries and priests and priestesses, we have work to do with each other, with the goddess force that runs through our being, with becoming more powerful so that those around us start to feel that energetic, silent energy that comes from us and that begins to work on them. Wherever you stand, be the soul of that place. I think that might be Rumi, but I'm not sure. Be the soul. Hold the energy of truth. We're going to talk about wisdom, love, and truth, the maiden, the mother, and the crone. Um, all right. Okay. So we're talking about Taurus. I was talking about values. So Vesta and Vulcan, both Roman god and goddess. So Vesta is the priestess of the goddess of the Vestal Virgins who govern the hearth fire, the goddess of the hearth. In that way, she's connected to Taurus, Vesta, because Taurus is the home. It's the hearth fire in the heart, not way out there somewhere, but here. The hearth fire that comes in a holy love relationship at Beltane, when two people are in the higher states of love, we'll talk about the 3 levels, then that hearth fire opens between them and they're working with the sacred fire. Um, let's see, what else should I say? But Vesta, though, she's a priestess and she works. She makes us forge like Vulcan. And Vulcan, the Roman god Vulcan, is said to be, in some teachings, said to be the husband of Venus. Vulcan, V Venus, V Virgin. There's a lot of good V's. And Vulcan helps us. Actually, I wrote a couple things down. Let me see where they are. Oh, Vulcan, the god of fire, forging the soul and spirit, the god of forging, the goddess of artisans and blacksmiths. But Vulcan, in some of the older mystery schools and lodges, Vulcan was really heightened and put into the system. It was believed to be a planet at a certain time, and I'm not going to go into all the history of the Vulcan teachings, but Vulcan is holy, is what we go through in our human vessel to forge the spirit in matter, and that's Taurus. It is the path of becoming the truth of who we really are. Oh, I know in certain systems, I think Alice Bailey was one that had Vulcan as the ruler of Taurus, because Vulcan and Venus go together, and Vulcan represents that divine work we do in the sign of Taurus to purify our matter, to purify our sensuality and our pleasure, and to activate our higher values. So this doesn't mean we have no judgment. This is just the trajectory and the projection of the soul. We start out eating everything, wanting everything, desiring everything, and then we refine. And we refine. We go through hell, we go through the fire of Vulcan and the priestess work of Vesta to purify. And that's why the Vestal virgins represented the pure feminine. I have a lot of information on the Vestal virgins that is from direct knowledge of having. I think it was last summer, I shared about how I'd gone to this shaman in Los Angeles, like a top shaman, and had gained a lot of information about various lifetimes I had in the Greek and Roman times, ancient Greece and Rome. And part of that had to do with some of the oracular work and working in that container. And I'll just share this really quickly. I had a tremendous amount I've been carrying with me, for those of you who want to go there with me, over lifetimes of dark, dark, dark sacral energy that was suppressed, that was not reconciled, and that was not honored or seen. And that pulls down the female heart. The female heart is meant to love, not just the transcendent divine. In fact, we'll talk about it because I called this actually the oracles of the divine feminine wisdom. Now, oracles, think of Taurus, the Hierophant, the inner hearing. That's what an oracle is. An oracle accesses the voice from within. Now, the oracle, the Hierophant, falls in Taurus, which is the sign of sensuality and pleasure. And Earth, Taurus, and heart are an anagram of each other. And breath represents the cosmic fire, the Christ force, which is used in sacred union. For those who have practiced any form of the tantric arts, know that the breath is everything. Or if you're a singer, and Taurus rules the throat and singers, it rules the voice. And it shows that singers have to understand breath control. Even it rules actors too, that when you're projecting on stage and you want to hit from the stage to the back row, you have to know how to project. You have to know how to belt or how to get that sound current out via the breath and the solar plexus as well. So, okay, where was I? All right. So Taurus, all right, just one second. Oh, we were talking about the Vestal Virgin. So what happened was this image of the holy divine feminine that left out the codes of Lilith and Magdalene, and that left out the wife and the mother and the birther. And these do fall within the Virgin Mary, the Virgin Mother. I've talked a lot and teach a lot about this. We'll be going deeper. The heart of the woman, her heart of the feminine. So some men carry a female heart for sure. I welcome you all here. And I also welcome men who are just curious and want to study here or take this in and be alchemized so that you can have a higher understanding for the collective atom right now. But the heart, the woman has to carry love. She has the love of humanity. She's the mother of the human race. And the not all lifetimes will be about having a long-term partner. I will say that. I have sacred women who have been with me for years, who have a life of living in different ways outside of marriage. And that is absolutely legit, absolutely not to be questioned. In the collective, there's been some programming that we talk about here, but I'm not referring to that right now. There are lifetimes where you have a vocation to serve, for sure. But there was also this idea of purity. And it even exists, I will say, within the church. I came out of the church. I spent my life in the Catholic Church and have been recently revisited all of it. And I have complete respect. I mean, I love what the Pope talked about in his last sermon about peace and for the Palestinian people was profound. And I actually wanted to do a meditation for that today too. I'm going to throw that in right now. We're talking today about food, about the earth, the resources of the goddess for the human race. So I'm going to just take a moment right now with the Christ Sophia light we called in. I want to send that to those people who are suffering right now and experiencing starvation, where the door has been shut. This happens around the planet in war. It's awful. But there's mass groups right now experiencing this, children and women, brothers and fathers. And so we just take a moment to direct some of this divine feminine light that we're working with to this population, and may they know the truth of the fire and light that live in their hearts. May their suffering hold up a mirror for humanity, that we all learn from our past mistakes, that we all cultivate love and balance. It is for this reason that the divine feminine must awaken. There is a time for war. There is a time for aggression. We're not living in a Pollyanna, illusion. But it's time for us to wake up and have, first of all, common sense, and then wisdom. It's meant for both the masculine and feminine to apply this wisdom. We have more than enough for this planet. It's true, there are different karmic cycles we go through where we have to experience these kinds of things, but we're in the evolution right now. Sorry about that. So we send love, just taking a moment. May that light of the Christ force be sent. And may there be a joy knowing, and I feel there's a joy, because inside, when we send people this energy, they know there's a moment inside. I just got this burst of like joy. I could feel like I'm gonna start crying. Like that, just my heart exploded. That's what happens when we give the eternal to the eternal. We're living in pure power. That is the light and matter. When we give from our illusions, we create more bondage and more hell. And we isolate ourselves and lock ourselves in our own little prison, thinking it's our world, when we could open the door and walk outside and change things for ourselves and for others. That's why we're here. So, okay, I'm just going to go back to where were we? We were talking about sending light. Oh, resources and Taurus. Okay. I can't remember where I was, but we needed to do that. So, okay. Okay, human sexuality, let's talk about it. Let's go there. So I'm just going to take a moment and look down. Hello, hello. Ah, so nice to see you. Oh my gosh, if you're here and you haven't said hello, tune in. I know I've been gone for a while, but it's so great to be back. I look forward to lots of connection over the summer. We know summer is a very busy season for us. We lead up to now. It's going to take off. It's going to really take off. So nice to see you, Lotus, and Alana, and Nasreen. Oh, Nasreen, so nice to see you. And Snejana, and Lotus, and Livity Rising, and AP from Poland, and Shannon McIntyre. So great to have you here. Okay, let's do it. Let's dive in. Let's do what we do best here. It's talking about sexuality. All right. This is what, if you remember the early podcast, it was the new human sexual paradigm. And it was where I got to really go there and talk about the work, the work that happens in love. And again, it doesn't mean everyone's doing this in every lifetime, but this work is profound and everyone should know about it. So, Vesta and Vulcan help us purify, but we cannot leave out the heart. We cannot leave out pleasure or lust or desire, because all of this is about purifying our body of desire. And that takes a lot of trial and error. It takes a lot of karma. It takes a lot of, we all have our stories. And in this lifetime, I got to live in various different times where I got to see the darkest of the dark on this planet and be right in it and know it and see it and record it, not from hearing about it, but seeing it. And then come out and carry forward the mission, but carry forward the mission with real knowledge, having tasted, having drank of the cup of suffering, having known what that is. I just want to say one thing about Goddess KABBALAH, that the course I talked about in the beginning. It is called feminine crucifixion. I should have said this, but it's about the feminine crucifixion that mirrors the masculine. This has all been received through the Temple of Isis, by the way. I'm just going to say that that's the stream that provides these teachings, and it's we many of us have these contacts there. The female crucifixion, that is what all these codes were given, that the woman or the feminine heart goes through an astral crucifixion. There's various cycles of that, but the big one is the big one. And I'm not sure what's going on here. Just one second. Sorry about that. Okay. So it's the feminine crucifixion and resurrection. So profound, because we go into all of these issues that we're going to talk about here, and we get to come together and share as women and men and talk about the pain and the joy and the beauty of being human and experiencing love. Okay, so there are 3 levels of human sexuality. This is what we've taught here, and this was part of the new human sexual paradigm, and it's part of we address this everywhere. There is the physical level of merging, the urge to merge. It's physical. We all have that fire within us. When it hits you, you know it, because it's real, and it's energetic, and it's the most powerful force in the world. When that force comes over you, whew, it's the fire, it's the dragon current, and it is healthy in that on the cellular level, it gives you energy, and it makes you feel alive, and it makes you want to go for something. And so in my Venus retrograde, I got to feel some old currents come back, and I was like, oh wow, it is the most powerful force in the universe. Attraction, desire, and then we go through the spectrum, and then love, and then spiritualized love, and then divine love. So we have that spiritual level. We could say it's the maiden. For now, we'll call it the maiden, and we'll say it represents love, like just how we all love. We all love something. There are people who love evil. We love animals. We love food. We love even the vices that are bad for us, but we love them, whether it's too much shopping, or whether it's we're too addicted to this or that. We can love our vices too, but it's the beginning level of love. It's tasting what it's like to be human. So on the pentagram, it's those 5 senses. And then we have spiritual. In the physical plane, this is the physical. Then we have the astral level, or the spiritual level, which is connected to the heart and connected to feelings. So, you can desire someone and get in it and even live out an affair. It's very possible to have a very hot affair and think like, oh my God, this is it. Or this is like, I could never live without this. And sometimes that's called an underworld love interest, because sometimes Pluto, the 8th house mystery, Scorpio, will bring in a dark experience. And we are meant to have them, where we dance with the dark and we're seduced. And we can even explore the dark and explore the shadow side of love. That's a real thing. And we learn from it, because if you've ever been bitten in that underworld, like soaked in the pleasure and then gotten bit bad, you'll never forget it. And then it takes a few of them, and some are disguised, but physical love can also just be our experiences of feeling like we like someone, and we want to, have any kind of physical touch or intimacy. The physical, we say here, for this podcast, we're saying the physical is connected to the word. This is really deep. And I want to share this because this is something I got to really experience as I had my Venus retrograde. And I work with the word all the time. This whole platform is built on the word. But there's different levels of working with the word to teach young men and women how to understand their value and how to understand how to communicate with each other will empower that first level. For the most part, especially with social media now, there's a lot of confusion and a lot of women you hear don't know how to speak up for themselves or have boundaries or voice what they want or what they're trying to communicate. And so a lot of times those first few experiences can be clumsy, meaning you're not expressed or you don't know what you're doing. And I'm not talking about the act of intimacy. I'm talking about even just pursuing it. And with dating apps now and with all the fast talking and the compulsive stuff, a lot of the word is trickery and clever. It's not genuine and it's not connected to the heart. We've learned how to um I'm just seeing ads are gonna run. YouTube has changed so many things, so I'm not sure. I don't have those running right now. We have to learn how to speak, and what I was reminded of in my own Venus retrograde, and I mean on the highest level that I want to share, learn how to speak the truth. I'm gonna get something. I have something I have to share with you. It's written on quote, so I'll be right back. Just 1 second. Okay. This is so cool. This was a little box. I ordered some like face stuff. And when it came, it was crazy how this happened. It came at a time when I needed to speak the truth. And I'm going to read to you what came. I was really looking because I had a bunch of reconciliations happen. Like several connections from my past just came back. They were right there. Okay. Truth never damages a cause that is just. These were all written on this box. I was literally sitting there and then I went and opened this package and opened this. Truth, so when you speak the truth, it will never damage a cause that is just. I'm sorry, I have a new computer and I'm not sure why that is going off. I have to look into that. Honesty, and this is a good one. Honesty and transparency make you vulnerable. Be honest and transparent anyway. Mother Teresa. Honesty and transparency make you vulnerable. Be honest and transparent anyway. A lack of transparency results in distrust and a deep sense of insecurity. The Dalai Lama. A lack of transparency results in distrust and a deep sense of insecurity. Now, obviously, I want to say, maybe even not obviously, we work with what we call the poetic word. And can't believe it. Okay. We work with the poetic word. That means there are various meanings of words and quotes. And so you can always take a quote and say the reverse of it is true. But in order to gain the wisdom, you have to penetrate it with your heart. It's a higher knowledge. We call it the lost word. When you can really receive the gift of the words. Because some of these you could say, yeah, but this situation, no, 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 no. Receive the gift of what's being said because it's deep. Transparency is the antidote to hypocrisy. Britt Merrick. Don't know who that is. Transparency is the antidote to hypocrisy. I love this one. There is no beauty without truth, and there is no truth without transparency. So think about love relationships. In that first level, oftentimes there's a lot of trickery and fooling and we don't yet know how to be just transparent. And there's a safe way to be transparent. This doesn't mean that you speak every single thought you have. So that's what I wanted to say. But it means that you understand the stream that's from your heart and from your truth and from your boundaries. It's not about being free and open. It's actually the ability to say, look, without, you know, let's say if you're a woman, without emasculating if you're talking to a man, or without belittling a child if you're speaking to a child, but to hold that eternal energy so that you activate the eternal. And that's what I had the experience of doing deeply. And it works. When you take a step back and say, wait, wait, wait. Okay, I was going to go this way, but wait a minute. Deeper. There's something deeper. And oftentimes we shoot off something, whether we're writing it or speaking it, and there's something right below it. That is the voice of the silence. That's that more subtle plane, the feminine subtle plane, the subconscious realm that has the true message. So as we learn to speak this way, we start to listen internally, and that's Taurus, that's the Hierophant, and that's love, and that's sexuality, and that's the Pentagram, and that's pleasure. It's real pleasure. To speak the truth is actually so much more of a high than false words. And I was reminded of that because you know what? What happens is your divine self comes online. When I speak truth kindly, it can be kind, it can be clever, it can still be funny. But when I speak truth, I'm in my divinity and every cell, I'm activated on the cellular level and it just feels right. Truth with a capital T is truth. Okay. There is no beauty without truth because beauty is truth. And there is no truth without transparency. So again, the transparency of the master is almost like childlike, but there's also a profound wisdom guarding the field so that the truth is concealed or revealed according to the laws of nature. So because now you're activating the cosmic feminine law. And so again, it doesn't mean you just speak out everything you're thinking. Oh, that's my truth. I was thinking this and that, because sometimes that could be harmful, but it means the truth that will respect your divinity and the integrity and honor of the other human. So transparency is the new objectivity. These all came on this little box. David Weinberger, transparency is the new objectivity. Speak the truth. Transparency breeds legitimacy. That is a good one. When you speak the truth, transparency breeds legitimacy. Now, whose truth is truth? We can feel truth. We're also afraid of it. In this day and age, I talk a lot about the word and how the word is misused all over with all of our platforms. I'm not going to open that up now, but it's huge. Now, when we're working with the spiritual plane of love, we talked about the physical and so we can teach our children how to speak, how to communicate. That's something my son has gifts in that area. He has a lot of Mercury and a lot of pentagram energy. But when we teach our kids how to speak truly and how to spot, um, how to discern what goodness, when good intentions, we're always going to have situations where we get involved with something where there's not good intentions, but teach our children how to discern what wants the best for you, or what's just purely selfish, or what's just foolishness. Now, this is the big thing. We're getting into the spiritual level. The spiritual level is the level of feelings. So that's when love starts to come online. So you might be physically attracted. There might be an affair, there might be this, there might be that. But um once you have feelings, it's a whole other ball game. When you have feelings, your heart's online. And when your heart's online, the stakes are higher, especially if you carry feminine energy, because they're meant to be. So when you love someone, now you have feelings. And you have to be honest with yourself about that. Like, I have feelings, because if we have feelings for someone and we hide it or we manipulate them with our feelings, we're doing ourselves an injustice. Now, in this level, we are attaching the word, the spoken sound current to, going to see if I can turn this off right now. Okay. I'm not sure if I can get back. do that. So we're attaching the sound current to the heart now. And when our sound current is attached to the heart, that means we're expressing love through the spoken word that is attached to feelings. It's like when you say, I love you to someone for the first time. That moment when you've been with someone and you say, I love you, your heart and your word are united. And that takes it to the next level. You've spoken the word and the feeling backs the word. That's the spiritual level of love. At that level, I put that as the level of the mother. So the first physical is the maiden. The level of spiritual love is the mother, because the mother represents the archetype where unconditional love starts to come in. You have a child and there's this automatic love. You don't have to learn to love your child in a healthy woman. Like, you don't have to go through the stage of physical attract. In fact, you don't have that stage. You don't have physical chemistry attraction that's of the sexual nature. You're now in the level of the mother. Feelings, protection, and unconditional love. So, and speaking to the child with love. The way a woman speaks to her child is everything. It's everything. If you're someone who's experienced verbal abuse, or you can spot someone that's living in a verbal abuse situation, verbal abuse from a parent can strip a child of their self-worth. It is evil. It doesn't mean there's no discipline, but, and this is something we talk about in Holy Womanhood and Divine Motherhood, the way the parent communicates with the child is of the utmost importance. In the new era, in the goddess epoch, in the age of Aquarius, we're going to understand that. But the words that a child hears in those first years in the womb, and with my own son, it was on from preconception. I've talked a lot about how he was created through a very beautiful ritual. And I was speaking with him before he came in, but all through the womb. And then, there's various things that I've taught in previous podcasts. The way the mother speaks to the child will form their energetic body and how they perceive themselves to be in the world. And the way the mother speaks to the father and their connection is transmitted through the mother into the child. All of this is so deep. This is why we say the secrets of the dragon current. It's all interconnected. The act that creates the child, the power of the word, and how that word is then given as the food and the dragon current to the child to grow their energetic bodies and their spiritual body down the road. So we say that that level is wisdom. We say that the first physical level, we'll call it love. In one of the systems I studied, they said love goes to the bottom. Love is a bottom dweller because the Christ comes from above. And the Christ force, the reason in the esoteric mysteries, the Christos mysteries, Christ comes in because Christ can come from the top and reach the bottom. Not all the different cosmic forces can do that. But that's why we venerate and call forth the Christ, and through various religions call forth that energy as the Redeemer, because that energy is love. And that energy of love will go all the way to the bottom and help the lowest of the low with no questions. That is the Christ who still works on the etheric plane right now until we're all there. So that is spiritual love. It's the love, it's the work of wisdom and the work of, no, I'm sorry. So the love is the maiden, and that's the Christ force coming in. But the spiritual is where it starts to be more formed and where the feelings start to match the words. And that's the astral level. So think of your love relationships. Think of where you have had victories and where it's been a complete blowout, where you've lost love as a result of not understanding some of the wisdom. Another part about this wisdom is when you come into a love relationship, when you have the tools to look at each other in a very in a very wise and mature way, you can see what's going on between you. It's just right there. It's right there. You can understand what kinds of forces you're dealing with in your loved one. Okay, so the maiden is wisdom or is love, and she's the physical plane. The mother is the spiritual plane, and she's wisdom. The mother is the wisdom, and she's also the mediator between the physical plane and the higher plane, physical and divine. And then we move into. Let me just take a moment with spiritual love. Most relationships should move into spiritual love if it's real love. A real lasting relationship with a commitment in the eighth house mysteries will hit that level of spiritual beginning to spiritualize the force of love and sexuality. So important. So important. And so when we look at our culture and what it pushes, when we look at what is being pushed through the constant stream of the world of entertainment and media and film and music and all of it, and I adore all of these. I just want to be really clear. But the shadow side has moved in and is pushing the boundaries further. There's a lot of pushback, but for those of us who have raised kids during this era, we know because we see the difference from when we grew up, and we just know it's quite dark. And the kids themselves know, especially the Gen Zs. I have a Gen Z. They know what's going on. They're like, in fact, they've sort of like pushed everything away, and they're like, no, we're going to do this our way. They're going to reboot everything. But spiritual love is meant to be the collective is meant to reach that level. We have those playful, maypole urge to merge, and then we fall in love, and we have a contract, a commitment. And if it's a marriage, a real contract, which is the feminine needs to produce her substance. I'm getting notifications for my own video. When I am in a container, this is a spiritual law. And this is a big part of the Light Body Woman curriculum. There is a substance that is created by the feminine, by the woman, by Eve, when contract has been made. And in this world, oftentimes that represents a marriage, because you can't the marriage is very spiritual. It's a mirror of a higher marriage. We could argue different sides of it, but when you're in it, you know what that means. If you're on the spiritual path, it's real. And there's a contract, there's a commitment. And you're now merging various levels of whether it's financial, you may be creating children, creating a bloodline based on that marriage, a new offspring into the world, and you're negotiating your energetic space night and day. You sleep in the same bed, meaning when you go into that Piscean space every night, you're sharing that space with your partner. That is the eighth house mysteries. And when there's a commitment, you're saying, this isn't casual. And there's various levels of maturity in that commitment, but the commitment itself is necessary for the woman to produce the higher substance. And then what she does with it will determine the quality and the integrity and the transparency and truth of the relationship. All of these can be applied to love relationships. Communication, as we're talking about the secrets of the dragon current, is the number one thing exchanged in love. How you communicate with your partner. Now, you may be in a very happy, balanced relationship where there's no drama, and that's beautiful. On the day to day, how you speak, what you notice, your triggers is always working on you, and it's profound. And then we can take that into the world. How, when we begin to have that spiritual level of love, how we treat others is everything. How we speak to the woman at the checkout stand, to the person at the gas station, to the receptionist at our doctor appointment is everything. To the person driving next to us, it's everything. We learn how to deal with the friction and the conflict and the tension. So that's spiritual, and it's wisdom. The divine is we connected to the Crone. and she's truth. The crone is truth, and we worked with the dark feminine extensively and her buried body in the underworld. We went all the way in to connect with her fire in the core of the earth and all the rage and the power and the light that she holds. The crone is the stage when you have gone into the mysteries or you've gone into the contract and you're now going to be with someone through the maiden, the mother, and the crone, the three stages of love. That means what was fertile and, delicious and sensual in the maiden stage is now changing, like nature changes from spring into the ripe and fullness of summer with the summer sun, into the fall where the leaves begin to fall and the branches are bare and you can see the bones and you start to see more what's underneath, what's hidden by all that beauty starts to be revealed as we make our way into the death of all that's on the outside, where the life force is now fully on the inside. It's been spiritualized. Two people who love each other through into the stage where the body is no longer, you know, worthy of being. I mean, we have come a long ways where we now look at we're able to see the beauty in all form, but meaning the lust principle is no longer front and center. And in spiritual love, it shouldn't be anyway, but it means that you love the person's soul. And with the feminine, this is everything. I say that as the head of the Divine Feminine Wisdom School, as the founder of Light Body Yoga, as the speaker in the Holy Womanhood podcast, and as someone who has had to go through the darkest of the dark in these mysteries and to understand the crucifixion of the female heart, which is what we go into deeply in Holy Descent. The understanding of how Eve's heart has been battered and exploited and used and pillaged, and how Eve herself has taught herself, has taken in the inversion coding to participate in her own desecration of her feminine energy. This is the work of holy womanhood, because until we understand that as women or as men who get it and who are here for love and healing, we use each other. We use each other. There was a pope when I was going through all the church teachings. It was Pope John Paul. He talked deeply about, and this is where I reach into the beauty of the teachings as they show up everywhere. He had profound insight on human love. I listened to a talk he had given about how the reason marriage is such a sacred container, and the church holds a very important aspect of those laws around it that govern it. I'm not going to break into that now because there's also sides that could be really looked at and that will evolve. However, he talked about how without that understanding, we use each other for the flesh and we're disposable. When the appetite changes, the love is gone. And there's so many others possibilities. And so we learn to consume each other without ever knowing the soul and the spirit. And the eighth house mysteries are about that. They are about merging, losing oneself, going into the depths, reclaiming the trapped energy of the shadow, transmuting our own, deeply calcified wounds and past mistakes, and sharing them with the other in that sacred communion until we both rise like the phoenix. That is the stage of the crone, meaning you've loved beyond the physical. It started as the physical, though. That's the key. When a couple goes through that trajectory of starting where everything's just ripe and beautiful and sensual into the more committed stage of the mother, we've now have a contract, we have marriage, we have love, we have a home to keep up and children to take care of. That requires pure sacrifice. Whenever you come together with someone, when you sacrifice, you're together, you're in it with each other. There's a saying, don't which I remember hearing a lot when I was studying Kabbalah in New York City. Don't marry someone unless you are prepared to sacrifice for that person because you will be called. Love is not free. And I want to say that because a lot of times people I was talking to someone who I know very well who was saying, this who's older, who was saying this generation, everyone just calls it quits. He's like, the second a few sacrifices come in, it's too hard, it's too uphill. There's too much out there. It's too easy. And so there was a time when saying that commitment was law was necessary for humanity to move beyond just the woman breeder stage. The woman is the mistress, is the breeder. While meanwhile, there were the courtesans to take care of all the real needs of desire. And there was just, on and on in every cycle. We've talked a lot about it. We talked about the emperor's forbidden city in China, which is a good one. We talked about that in that video last fall. The woman was just kind of used as a breeder and to kind of keep, maybe keep up the home and, be the spare waiting if there was nothing better that day. That's happened many, many, many times. And psychologically, we carry that. The human race remembers that. And that's why there's a fear in love. That's why sometimes if you're falling in love with someone, even when you're young girls, almost the imprinting and memory from the collective on this planet of giving your substance and being stripped without being honored for the love, without being seen as an expression of the divine feminine and the goddess. That is where all the pain, you look at what's going on right now everywhere in politics, just the crazy of the crazies. And I'm not saying good or bad one way. I'm saying it is so obvious that we're not there yet with this work. And so there's ways around this work. And of course, you can have a good world without it, but that's going to be non negotiable. As we enter the new age, those people in high places of power will understand these mysteries. It's destiny, meaning they will understand the dragon current, the goddess force, the sexual force, and they will understand the true value of love. And not in a way that's not in a way that enforces through the lower patriarchal side. I'm not talking about that. Even when we come to the woman's body right now, some of the things being enforced, that's through patriarchy. That's not through the divine. It's different. Huge difference. The divine wisdom will teach someone about the sacredness and how to work their own vessel. The other just enforces, and that's the older way we may have needed that, but we're moving into a different time. So I'll close on saying this is why human sexuality is so important, because we have to activate the current and complete the feminine initiations. The mother balances the physical and the divine worlds. Her heart and womb hold the codes of initiation. She is the true feminine initiation science for the coming age of Venus, and we all carry her within us. So I'm going to look down, and it's Saturday. It's a little quieter today. I'm going to see if, again, if you just tuned in and you're enjoying it, I'd appreciate if you give the video a like, and please come back and comment. I'm getting, let's see, it's 1:40. Okay, we'll go a little bit longer. I'm going to see if there's any questions. Oh, it was so nice to see you. Oh, someone. Yeah, no, obviously, we're not talking about when we're talking about being kind, we're not talking about not having boundaries. In fact, there's a saying, actually not kind. I read it was a Matthew McConaughey quote and said, I love this. I actually screenshotted it. I have it. Let me see. Someone posted this on Facebook. This quote, I'm going to read what he said because it was great. Oh, whoops. Okay. He said, this is Matthew McConaughey. He said, "My life got better when I realized I didn't have to be nice. Nice got me ran over, stressed out, disrespected. I'm not nice. I'm a good person." That's truth. That's transparency. That's the kind of truth we're talking about. That's straight. And it is kind. In being truthful, you're being kind. But he used the word nice, which is a little bit better. My life got better when I realized I didn't have to be nice. Nice got me ran over, stressed. It got me ran over too, stressed out and disrespected. All those things I can agree on. I'm not nice. I'm a good person. So yeah, that's being a good person, meaning at your core, running through truth is profound. All right. Let me see. So I'm going to read this. I think I will read this. I was going to read my letter that I found. So I often talk about my works. I'm starting to share a little bit about it more. I have everything recorded going all the way back. I used to email myself all the time and I have them all. This is 2009, June 1st, which has always been a really big day here as well, May 1st and June 1st. So I had been in the Akashic record. I was working deeply in the Akashic. And I was given a code. I was given a symbol from the goddess. And the symbol at the time was a circle with the cross in it, with the forearm cross. So it was a circle with the equilateral cross inside the circle, which can also be, it's connected to Malkuth on the tree of life, the 10th sphere, and it's also connected to the seasons in the zodiac, the solstices and equinoxes. But at that time, I had met with a group of masters and was told that I was going to be given a symbol. I didn't know what it was, and it was that symbol. And then I was told to just meditate with that symbol. And this is what happened. So it was June 2009. This was after I started to receive the stream of inner KABBALAH, which happened in February 2009. I was taken into an etheric temple of ice, the temple of Isis. At the time, I wasn't seeking to do this. I wasn't looking for it. I was already working with the divine feminine for many years, but I wasn't I was just completely present to what was happening. So I was taken into this temple. And it was grand, as in my imagination, it was grand. It was marble and there were pillars and there were stairs. And it was just beautiful. And there was an energetic field. And because of where my frequency was tuned to, I was able to go past the field into the next field, into the next field. With every energetic field, it would attune to your heart. And so I was able to go in as far as I could go in. And at that time, the inner Kabbalah had opened up in February 2009. And so this was June 1st. It was an initiation where I was shown where the stream was coming from and where I had been before I even came onto this planet. And so for those of you, who want to go there, you can follow that. For the rest of you, you can just say it's an imaginary vision. And I was also going through a period of isolation in my life where this was my work every day. So I was shown that was the source of what I was receiving on the inner plane. When I had the meditation to receive inner Kabbalah, I had already studied for years, but I was shown how it integrated the Adam and Eve energies and how the woman was on the altar for this one. The woman was the sacrifice. It was the female crucifixion, and there were angelic hierarchy around me, and also some very high level master energies that I had known through other times that were there present for this initiation. So then I had that in June, the entering the temple to understand what would be the source of receiving. It's the temple of Isis. I don't say the name a lot just because for a while on YouTube, if you said that, it was marked as something else. Okay. On that day, I wrote this letter, and I'm going to read it just to put it in this video. Every now and then I pull it out. And again, this is June 1st, 2009. Dearest, beloved, cosmic mother, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalena, Isis, and Sophia. In you I rest my mind and open my heart to receive the crystallization of love and light into this writing. Please come through my mind, my heart, my voice, and my hand to reach those whom I am meant to reach. Teach me and all womankind of the great feminine mysteries. Teach me through the power of the word and through the power of visions and sacred images how to access wisdom, love, and the regeneration of the human race through our female bodies. Teach me how to merge the sun and the moon, that I may enter into a state of divine grace and love and be of service to the divine in the great work. Teach me how to surrender. Teach me as I write of your cosmic love and sacred creation. Teach me as I ride the wave of divine consciousness into your realm of feminine love and mysteries, how to receive the wisdom that is ours to receive. Teach me of the laws of, all caps, fertility, the laws of creation that are of the divine feminine wisdom. Show me how to breathe in the light of the sun, to take in the healing rays of the great teacher, to purify my body and open my heart. Show me how to work silently, like the solar force, to heal and serve through my own vessel of light. Show me the words of life and light and remove my own lesser ways as I write this gift and become a vessel for you to reach the women of the earth. I surrender to you to let go of my own smaller needs in order that I might fulfill a larger destiny of my soul. In this way, I know the greatest self-love of all. Dearest Mother, show me the meaning of all life, for you are life, and I am in you and through you. I am your lineage on earth. I am your daughter. So be it. So it is. It is done. That was the letter that I wrote at the time I was writing every day, writing and writing and writing. And I have all my books. They're all handwritten and recorded. And it was after I had the Akashic record experience, received the symbol, and then was sat in meditation for a day. And then that was the letter I wrote. And I just wanted to bring it in because When I see it, it's really sacred. I have another reading that I'm going to be doing, and it's called, this one is from 2009, July 28th. I'm not going to read it now, in a future video. It's called Sexual Power, Polarity, and the Divine Matrix of Creation, the Goddess. This is huge. I've read this in quite a few courses I've taught. It's several pages, and it's a channeling of the teachings of sexuality that are from beyond me, because I was just writing it. When I read it afterwards, it like literally I had to sort of sit in a quiet room for a couple days to let it shake it off. The intensity of the light that streamed in was that high. For those of you who channel and write, you know that when you reach a high stream, it's like an artist. After an artist creates something really profound, they go into this space of like they need to let go of everything, because you have to come back to earth, basically. So that happened when I wrote this, and I'll be reading that. And the last thing I want to say here is that, so Taurus is the peak light and the peak fertility. All of the work in holy womanhood is about our fertility. My work, and I've shared a few times recently that my name growing up was Egg. My whole life I was called Egg, and I had a bunch of other things around that. And then realized my work is total fertility. Now, when I wrote that letter to the Divine Mother and was asking her, teach me the codes of fertility, I had already been teaching fertility rituals and given birth to my son through the miracle of that ritual. But I'm saying it, that's when it became so formalized that I realized what I had been trained for, that I present it in that letter to her, to bring in these codes. And that then what came after was the streaming of Goddess KABBALAH, which is the Kabbalah of fertility and the Kabbalah of woman. And it is the body of Eve and her 13 spheres. And it's all about fertility and the fertility of the coming age, which is a return to the divine fertility. Now, you hear people talk about fertility, let's say in Lemuria and before, but this level of putting together the different parts of woman that have been compartmentalized is the great art. So in the Western mysteries, we say the great work. This is the great art of the feminine. It's the fully built out body of primordial feminine Eve, but now walking this planet as a living goddess. And it's the destiny for the entire human race, but for the collective woman on this planet. That's what Holy Womanhood podcast is about. I'm trying, let me just see if I have enough time to go into the last part, which was to talk about one of my soul connections. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. So I didn't get to this today, but all of this is about creating the container, the chalice. So, and this is Taurus. We're physical. We're tangible beings. We're meant to honor the physical, not try to escape it. But we do transmute our consciousness, because it's consciousness that holds the dark forces. The body's neutral. I mean, the body can take on things from previous lifetimes as well through our DNA, but the body is this divine vehicle that it's the consciousness within that we're transmuting, and that makes the body come online in its higher state. So let me just see. We got to a lot. That's all I'll say about the chalice. So Taurus represents the chalice that gives birth and that holds this wisdom in this coming age of the divine feminine wisdom. Okay, let me look at the time. So we started right about 3. So this is a long one today. Let me see. I'm just going to ask if I meant to talk about. Okay. I can say a little bit today, and then I may say more later. All right. So you may be, it takes a while, but we start to realize people from our soul group, and sometimes that's through previous lifetimes, or it is through sometimes that means we start to understand previous lifetimes. Now, I spoke about this in the last video. The reason we don't we're not meant to know all the time our previous lifetimes is because I told you I had an experience where I thought that I saw someone that could have been me. And what happens is there's a split inside you. It's traumatic. I can't explain it, but what I felt, it's like you almost dissociate from your body because the human mind isn't necessarily capable of holding the understanding of 2 lifetimes at once. I know that sounds far out, and there's times when you know, like, who you were, this or that, but this was a big one, and so when I saw it, it split me inside. It was hard to hold the idea of looking at yourself in another body, and we're not really meant to have that because it's not necessary. Sometimes we get visions of who we are, but it's not like we go around looking at the address of where we used to live all the time. It can happen. Kids sometimes know, but it's usually not when they're doing the deep esoteric work. So the members of my soul group have been sort of like the odd one in their group. And they've oftentimes been the one that had to leave the group or get excommunicated. And I have that spirit inside me too, meaning they go in and then something about their presence is threatening or disturbing because they're holding something slightly different than what that group has, and they're meant to. There's an alchemy that's happening, and they'll oftentimes begin to sort of download and bring in the next level, but it disturbs the school, the mystery school or the lodge. That's why when you throughout occultism and mystery schools, you'll see there's so much drama and breaking apart of groups. So let me just see. I think I'm gonna start with that because there's a bigger story and I don't wanna go into it in this video. So there is a woman who is part of my group and who has done some profound writing, and she worked with another woman, and there was an ego clash. Um, in bringing in the work. We're all connected. We all work together. The truth is there's no separation, but there are different rays of energy that are carrying out certain spiritual operations. And so then there's a couple men that were the same in their group, and these are in various different schools that have been on the planet, especially in the past couple hundred years. And so when I began to understand my work, everyone in my group is carrying the same thing. And they sometimes disrupt the status quo, or they disrupt the main teacher's teaching and are sort of like either excommunicated or pushed out. But they're holding the work that has come in through this work right now, rays of it. Now, I will say this. We work together in groups, and so sometimes there's a sacrifice where we have to come into a lower, vibrational frequency to do a work. I don't know if that's the way to describe it. We have to sacrifice and come into a lower realm and to complete the work that has to be done on the planet, and so this group is holding it in that realm and undergoing their own sacrifice to work with their vessels on the planet. And sometimes the vessels on the planet get it wrong. And then the group is trying to move it forward, always move it forward. And then they may get a break and go back. I'm just starting to touch on how some of this work works and just kind of make it understood how the spiritual awakening is happening in this world, the true awakening. The true awakening. There are our brothers and sisters that have gone ahead and master beings in angelic realms that are working to forge through Vulcan and VESTA the human soul in matter. This is our destiny, and it is the Christ that came all the way in to redeem us and to teach us love and how to live as human beings. And in the inner mysteries, the inner mystery school of divine love, which is what we opened here, the, the higher wisdom is given. It's not given on the exoteric plane. It's reserved for the mature consciousness that's able to hold it. But even then, mistakes are made because we still carry an ego and we still carry our human karma. And so this work isn't about becoming a transcendent master that's spotless and stainless and sin-free, some light being walking around on the planet. No, we serve the light beings, and we have a destiny as well. And some of us have come from very high level, but it's a sacrifice. Being human, we die on the cross of matter, that solar cross. We are crucified, and we have the privilege of going through each lifetime to love, to learn wisdom, to educate ourselves in human form, and to assist the human race on this great journey. And so for now, I'm gonna close out. I'm gonna say thank you for all being here. I will be back soon. It was so lovely to be here today with you after the Venus retrograde, as we're in Venus season now with Taurus, to talk about the Beltane mysteries. The dragon current is that fire. How we use it is directly related to our level of consciousness. That's non-negotiable. Now, last word I want to say, just a little Beltane fun. Pleasure is welcome. It's okay. And at certain times in your life, especially if you've been in a long dry spell where you had to work in the higher planes and you couldn't indulge, sometimes there's a gift brought in to light up your body and your physical form so you get to experience it. And if you have a higher consciousness, it's divine. It's pure. You actually, that force calls in. You can end up meeting with some of the masters as a result of that, because what happens in that explosion of divine light is that a portal is opened and you receive various streams. It's holy, and it helps to spiritualize the human vessel, spiritualize humanity, and help raise us up so we can get on with this and start to heal. That's why we're here. I'm going to take one more look down. If anyone has anything you'd like to tell me, please please pop into the comments. If not, please subscribe. Please like the video and come back and comment. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. And I will be back with the link for Goddess KABBALAH. If you want to get started, this is a wonderful place to start in this work. If it's new to you, I really break it down, but we also go deep. It's not really level 1, but it will be profound for you. And so I'm just going to take a peek. Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. So nice to see you. And Dana, I can't remember if it's Dana or Dana. I got your note yesterday, and I just want to say congratulations. You were on my mind. So nice to see you. And Carol, so nice to see you. All right, I'm going to sign off for now. Sending you all love for Taurus season, and I look forward to seeing you soon. May she bless you. May those of you, I'm thinking of, because I saw Lotus, and I know your work with movement and dance and sexuality are heightened right now and run through the proper consciousness. They are divine, and we celebrate them. And it's our intention in our heart that radiates beauty. I want to say something quickly. The feminine was condemned for that. Unless she was put in a certain category, then she was heightened. But the merging of the true heart of love, of wisdom, and that is the height. It's the height of the goddess on this planet. And so that being said, we close out with amen, amen, amen. So be it, so it is, so is done. And I will see you next time. Namaste.